Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Minnesota Black Rural Regiment Drive Time Dialectics. This is a regularly occurring thing that I do, but it is not an scheduled every particular day type situation. It just kind of depends on the topics that are coming up. And I've had a bunch of topics that have been on my mind, and I wanted to talk about them over the last, I don't know, 3 to 4 days in particular. But that being said, this particular one is of great personal interest to me because I was intimately acquainted with the story. I interviewed a young man and that was wrapped up in the story, wrapped up in the situation, and so I think you guys are going to really like this, appreciate the content. While you're watching, feel free to hit the super chat or share this out. I have memberships on the channel now, so you can head over and hit the membership levels. I will take anything you want to send this way, quite honestly. And I know I hate this electronic shilling that we do these days, but it's kind of become something that I have to do because I never thought I would be in a position where even all these years later, I never thought I would be in a position where I had to talk about what I need to do to continue to be able to do this after losing a career for choosing to do this. And I'm going to put glasses on so I can read the chat a little bit as it's going on. Hey, Veterans Affairs Media is here, Skipper's here, and you guys want to share this out? I'd be most thankful. Make sure you're hitting the like button. I'm not selling any trifles, so I cannot say button. And so like I was saying, the story is incredibly important. Share it out, not just because I want you to share it out, but because it exposes a reality that we have to come to grips with. And, for those of you that are in the auditing community, you're well aware of a lot of the corruption and the malfeasance and the abuse in the law enforcement world, in the law enforcement career field. You guys know these things. I started to come awake to them while I was still working in that career field. And granted, I was a detention deputy, so I wasn't out on the streets, but I did see a lot of this. And it's something that people in the auditing community and the accountability community are well aware of. But it's not something that a lot of people who are even traditional conservatives are aware of or even want to address or want to talk about. And it is something that, quite honestly, you need to be willing to address. You need to be willing to talk about. And by the way, like I said, this is a drive time dialectic, so you're going to have to put up with me doing the driving thing, which means paying somewhat of an attention to what I have going on the roads until I at least get out of town. Then I can just drive like a madman. But I'm passing through the great city of Rochester, Minnesota, and it's shall we say it's the world's largest small town. Oh goody, got law enforcement behind me already. Let's see how this goes. Oh, there's a popo behind me, and he's speeding up. So what's going on here now? So why are you getting up on my ass? Okay, I'm doing 60, bro. Why are you following me like that? Maybe this will turn into something else. We'll see. Share this out. The police are following me. I don't know why. Oh, he's backing off a little bit. Good thing I got the dash cams going too, right? Where's the angry vet when you need him? Oh, he took the off-ramp. Okay, no excitement, folks. So, anyway, hello guys. Yeah, the popo was on me for a minute there. I thought I was going to the Hooskow, And it turns out I'm not. Well, at least not yet. So anyway, so the story that I want to tell you guys about, I will actually link in the description of this video once I get home. And you guys are going to be enraged by that story, but suffice it to say that in my career as a detention deputy, I made contact with a young man named Chase. And as I was kind of in the thick of my fight towards the end of my career, Chase became aware of, no, I'm not on 35, Skipper. I'm on Highway 52 South, so I'm nowhere near 35. It's a long ways away from me. But anyway, I became aware of this young man named Chase and interacted with him because of my career field. We were on different trajectories, but we ended up becoming friends. And so when he finished up his the time that he owed society, let's put it that way, he reached out to me, and we began to talk. And Chase made me aware that he was doing predator stings, sexual predator stings, SA stings. And one day he reached out to me with a messaged me and said, "Hey, do you recognize this guy?" And he sends me a picture of a deputy that I knew, that I worked with for almost 13 years. His name was Deputy, and I'm going to keep saying that, Deputy Matt Adamson. He had caught Deputy Matt Adamson of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office in a sting. And Deputy Matt Adamson made arrangements with the person he believed to be an underage girl for sex in exchange for alcohol. In the last minute, Adamson freaked out and ran. He fled. So Chase reached out to me and asked me, do you recognize him? I said, yeah, I helped. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I said, I thought I saw Adamson the other day, and I waved at him, but he didn't wave back. Tell me what he drives. And of course, it was a white pickup. And that was what Adamson was driving, and Chase busted him. So we had everything that we needed to know about his, how should we say, his conduct. And I immediately told Chase to turn him in. Chase did just that. To his credit, Chase turned Adamson in, and this was in the spring of 2022. Yeah, it was spring of 2022. Chase turned Deputy Matt Adamson in to the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department. And we were made to believe that he was also turned in to the Sheriff's Office, Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, which at the time was, it still is, being ran by Olmsted County Sheriff Kevin Torgerson. And then he was being supervised by Chief Deputy Brian Howard. Now, those two names, for those of you that know my channel, those two names, Torgerson and Howard, those were the two individuals that came after me for my show, for my podcast, for my content. And they're the reason I ended up separating my employment with the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, was because of the assault on me and on my natural rights by them. And they had me out on paid administrative leave from April of 2021 until October of 2021, when they finally started to make some settlement offers, because I knew I could not go back to work for them. Yeah, he really was pop audits. He really was riding up on my rear end. So anyway, they do that all the time around here. They like to try and get people to freak out, and it's ridiculous. So nothing comes of Chase's turning over of his evidence to the Rochester Police Department. Nothing comes of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office being made aware of this. So now you fast forward to November of 2023, and news breaks that an Olmsted County deputy, Matt Adamson by name, was arrested in a sting conducted by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And of course, the modus operandi of Deputy Matt Adamson in the sting where he was finally arrested identically matched his conduct in the sting that Chase had conducted. So they finally caught him by accident. They finally caught this deputy by accident, even though Chase had caught him and turned him in. A year and a half that this went on. That Chase, from the time that Chase turned him in to the time that he was accidentally busted for his victimization of underage girls, he was protected for a year and a half. Now, why do I say protected? Because Chase, on his Facebook page, Chase Johnston, you can find him. He's on my friends list if you are on Facebook and would like to reach out to Chase and show him some support. Chase just shared a story from KAAL News, a local news station. They did a data practices request for information, and in that data practices request for information, it has been confirmed that not only did the Rochester Police Department, under the guidance of Chief Franklin, have the information needed to go after Adamson, they know for a fact now that the sheriff's office was informed of Adamson's conduct. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Sheriff Kevin Torgerson and Chief Deputy Brian Howard had the information showing that Adamson was a predator. They knew it. They knew he was a predator. Nothing was done. Not one thing was done. Adamson was unchecked for a year and a half, victimizing underage girls. Victimizing them, folks. He was, for lack of better terminology, whether it was intentional or not, Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, Chief Deputy Brian Howard, and the Rochester Police Department ran cover for Deputy Matt Adamson. They had what they needed to at least remove him from his position of authority. And they did nothing. And the reason why that's important is that one of the charges that he faces, is abuse of, and I'm gonna screw up the phraseology. One of the charges he faces is abuse of authority by a public official. We know that Adamson was using equipment inside of the adult detention center to shoot video and capture video of female detainees in various straits, undress, various levels of undress, okay? Various freaking levels of undress, and then taking those home and saving them. He was using cameras across the city of Rochester, as best as we can ascertain. He was using cameras in different locations, secreted into women's bathrooms or changing rooms or things like that, and capturing minors and others in various stages of undress. For a year and a half, folks, a year and a half, this went on. Because the Rochester Police Department and the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office didn't do a damn thing about it when he was turned in. And now we have a news agency reporting the facts that they did know. And I will link the KAAL story for those of you who are, maybe free to do it. I can't do it right now. If I could share while I was doing a live on my phone, I would. But I can't. I'm trying to not drive too distracted. But if somebody wants to put the KAAL link in the description, or not in the description, but in the chat, I would love for people to read it and tell me what you see there. The Rochester Police Department admits they had the information, but they didn't they determined that it wasn't actionable. It wasn't actionable. And for those of you that are well aware of this story, know more about this story, not only did they not do anything with this information at all, Mark Ostrom, the Olmsted County attorney, a lot of you would refer to him as the district attorney, the chief prosecutor for Olmsted County, County, who prosecutes pretty much everything from other than the city's misdemeanor crimes, tells law enforcement in Olmsted County, Rochester, Minnesota, Olmsted County, Minnesota, he tells them any evidence presented by Chase Johnston will be dismissed and ignored because they don't like Chase's methodology. Now, we also know for a fact that a lot of it comes down to the fact that Chase has a record, and I'm not saying anything that Chase won't tell you himself. Chase has a record. That's how I met Chase. He was on the tail end of a life of very bad and criminal decision making. But here we sit, the Olmsted County Attorney, Mark Ostrom, telling law enforcement, you do not work with this guy, even though Chase has proven to be accurate, and in one case, one county did use Chase's evidence to prosecute and put away for a very long time a child predator. The irony is that county where this child predator was busted by Chase, when he was arrested, had to incarcerate this man in the same facility, Olmsted County facility, where Matt Adamson was working at the time. You'd have to go to KAAL TV in Rochester, Minnesota, and then look for the picture of a deputy in uniform being sworn in by the sheriff. That would be the story. So it's a story, I don't know if they have much video for it, but it is a written editorial story on their webpage. So yeah, so Dodge County's sheriff used Chase's evidence to prosecute someone, and that someone was incarcerated in the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office Adult Detention Center, while a predator who worked, Deputy Matt Adamson, worked for the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, was allowed to go unchecked to victimize, and we find out now, sounds like a victim maybe as young as 11 or 12. And in one case, probably a very local public park. And I'm in one of my valleys, folks, so I might get a little bit of delay. So just bear with me if I notice delay. I will. I'll try to delay a little bit of what I'm talking about. So, and I know been following me for a while, are well aware of this story, but this is kind of breaking news for me. And if I sound angry yet vindicated, it's because I feel angry and vindicated. Look, folks, this is the level of corruption that so many law enforcement agencies are dealing with. And when I say dealing with, I don't mean they're actually doing something to cease this level of corruption. What they're actually doing is not dealing with their corruption. Sheriff Kevin Torgerson could have done something about Deputy Matt Adamson. But see, Deputy Matt Adamson was a yes man. He was a sycophant. He was a bootlicker's bootlicker. He wore the uniform and he did everything that he was told. He would suck up to administration. He would suck up to leadership. He never rocked the boat. He was, on the surface, he was a good guy, a good fella. He was promoted to corporal. He was overseeing the drug court part of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, where it was his responsibility to supervise who were given a second chance by the courts to seek treatment, and they had to submit weekly to urinalysis tests. He was overseeing that. He was overseeing the work release facility. Oftentimes, where people who have been charged and convicted of sexual crimes, sexual assault crimes, would sometimes be housed. Let that sink in. let that really permeate. Let it steep. Let your mind steep in that. If you are a conservative, back the blue at all costs, cops can do no wrong, they're heroes type of people, and you say to yourself, my local law enforcement agency is the one agency that cannot be corrupted. My local law enforcement officers that I know, they'll never do dirty stuff. If you are the person who says that, don't just point at the major metro areas or the small town get along to go along types and say, well, of course corruption happens in small towns, or of course corruption happens in big cities, but it doesn't happen where I am. No, folks, it does happen. And if you can look at this story, if you can hear that a year and a half before this deputy is arrested accidentally, a young man who had the temerity and the intestinal fortitude to do what a lot of cops won't even do, and he went out and he started to capture evidence of adult men or women, if necessary, being willing to prey on underage children, boys or girls. He was willing to do that. He turned that information in, and nobody did a damn thing with it, and that allowed this deputy to go a year and a half victimizing other people. If that's not corruption, if that doesn't wake you up, if that doesn't piss you off, you normie con bootlicking sycophants, if that doesn't make you mad, if that doesn't make you say, for the love of God, what is going on with this profession that I used to have so much respect for, if that doesn't do something to you, if that doesn't anger you, then you are part of the problem. You are one of the reasons why we're losing our republic. And God damn you, for down on your bootlicking sycophantry as you worship at the feet of statist authoritarians with the power to take your freedom from you for whatever reason they want, and they will not hold their own accountable. And here's why this story matters so much. Last summer, Chase hadn't given up what he was doing. Chase hadn't stopped doing what he was doing. Chase had made a decision, and you can find him on Hard Road TV on YouTube. Chase had made the decision that he was not going to stop. I turned my life around, he says, but I am not going to stop going out there trying to protect the children of my community. Chase caught another sexual predator last summer. A man who had been convicted of crimes against children, had been to prison, for crimes against children, had just gotten out of prison for crimes against children, and had just finished his probation or his parole period. And somebody put Chase's link, Hard Road TV link in the description, please. Chase catches a man attempting to meet with a 16-year-old boy, a person he believed to be a 16-year-old boy, to exchange drugs and have sex. I don't have any mods. I don't know how to add mods, Hawk. Send me an email, mbrrpodcast@yahoo.com, and you and I can work that out. Hey, Brandon Mitchell, thanks for showing up. Guys, really, I appreciate everybody showing up and tuning in. If you missed the beginning of this, go back and watch it on playback. Please share it out. Hit the like button. Join my memberships. Send me a super chat, super thanks, whatever the case is. Super sticker, I don't care. But here's Chase, a man who decides to reform his life, catches a deputy in the middle of trying to sexually victimize young girls, gets ignored. That deputy goes on to victimize more people for a year and a half, and in the process, during all of that, Chase continues his work. He continues his work. He continues to expose these people, catches this guy wanting to meet with a 16-year-old boy, a person he believes to be 16. And I don't know what happened. Something happened here. There we go. I don't know what's going on. This stupid thing. Can you guys hear me still? Put a 1 in the chat if you can still hear me. Oh, I made somebody a mod. There you go. I got it. There, we got another one. So Chase reports this guy, and this guy calls the cops on Chase. I'm not even kidding. This guy calls the cops on Chase. This predator, the sexual predator, calls the cops on Chase. Cops show up. Rochester Police Department shows up to the call. Not a joke. Talk to both parties, Chase and his significant other. Talk to the predator. And they make the decision to arrest Chase. And the first thing they're trying to charge him with is false imprisonment. So they cuff up Chase, cart him off to the Olmsted County. This is the freaking irony of this. They cart him off to the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center, where, mind you, an actual sexual predator, Deputy Matt Adamson, under the supervision of Olmsted County Sheriff Kevin Torgerson and Chief Deputy Brian Howard, is still free, still victimizing people, and Chase gets arrested for false imprisonment when he busts a predator with a record trying to meet for sex with an underage boy. And when they can't make the false imprisonment stick, the police department, who, by the way, was disciplined several years ago for ethnically inflammatory comments made on his social media page. He has First Amendment right to do it, but this is the kind of person he is. He's ethnically biased, and he made biased comments, was disciplined for it, suspended without pay for it, made to go for classes for it, made to apologize publicly for it. He's now a goddamn sergeant in the Rochester Police Department in a supervisory position. That son of a bitch charged Chase with felony stalking, and now Chase has to go to trial for this. And all of you bootlicking normie con Inc. types want to talk about how good the cops are. Oh, don't worry, Capital Transparency. I would not make mods of anybody that I'm not interacted with in the past. So the people that I just made mods. I did that because I know and trust and people know that they interact with. So, but thank you very much for that caution. So I know I lost my top there, blew my top. I know that, and I'm going to go down into another dip here for just a minute, so I might lose some reception. I'm going to need the treadmill tonight big time, my friends. Sorry about that, folks. So Chase has faced felony charges. Because a corrupt cop named Ben Schlegg chooses to charge him with felony stalking, and a corrupt prosecutor, the Olmsted County Attorney Mark Ostrom, goes ahead with those charges, and they let the predator go that Chase busted, and they haven't dealt with, up until this point, they haven't dealt with Deputy Matt Adamson of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office. So here's the irony. Chase has helped bust other people. One of them ends up sitting for almost a year in the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, where Deputy Matt Adamson works. Hawk, it's Minnesota. So he sits for a year, ends up getting a lot of time. Busts another one. Rochester Police Department Sergeant Ben Schlag chooses to not charge the predator, but instead charges Chase. Chase goes then to the facility where Deputy Matt Adamson works, for the organization that Deputy Matt Adamson works for, is now looking at felony charges. All of this happening while Matt Adamson is out victimizing people under the watchful eye, with the tacit approval of Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, and Chief Deputy Brian Howard, and Chief Franklin of the Rochester Police Department, and anybody else you can think of, and Mark Ostrom. And they label Chase dangerous vigilante. And his tactics are unethical, and his tactics are dangerous. I just want that to sink in. If you guys don't share out anything else that I do, and I know I'm not an auditing channel the way a lot of you are used to. I know that I'm not a cop watch channel in the same way a lot of you are used to. But this is what I do. These are the stories that I tell. And the reason I tell these stories is because I've always hated corruption. I've always hated dirty tactics. It's why in 2020, in March of 2020, I went out and started to tell the stories about the lockdowns and the mask mandates and how people were being treated. And it's why, after I started to see just how corrupt the career field of law enforcement, how the institution of policing had been corrupted from the streets all the way up to the courts and the prison industrial complex, when I started to see and realize just how completely corrupted it is, and how that corruption can begin to touch even the decent people you know in law enforcement, I said, we got to tell more of these stories. Chase is working so goddamn hard to get his life together. And one of the people he caught went free. And another one was allowed to go free for a year and a half while he victimized other people. And Chase's high crime? You tell me. You know, and the thing that saddens me about this is that after almost 13 years in the law enforcement career field, I'm a nobody. I was a schmuck in the sense of my duties. I was a deputy in a detention center. I wasn't out in the streets. I wasn't the guy that was out there stopping crime. I was the release part of catch and release. I was the clean 'em part of the catch and clean 'em. And that's, you know, for those of you that aren't familiar with fishing terminology, that's what catch and release means, or catch and clean. You know, like I was part of that. I was the guy on the inside that had to talk to these people. That's where I began to realize that a lot of these people I was talking to, they weren't hardened criminals. They weren't victimizing people. They had drug habits. They were getting busted with marijuana. They were getting busted with methamphetamine. They weren't trying to sell it. They would just get caught with it, and their lives were ruined because they were choosing to use a drug, whether you like it or not. They were choosing to use a drug for personal reasons. They were almost every time trying to hide from some sort of pain in their life. 98% of people who use drugs, legal or illegal, are doing so because they're hiding from some sort of pain. And that's what I began to realize. Here's a system victimizing people who've probably already been victimized once in their life, being further victimized, re-traumatized by a system, and being told you're worthless. But that's where I was. That's what I did. I didn't go out and rescue anybody. I wasn't out there saving people from bank robbers and murderers. I was dealing with the people who are getting arrested. I wasn't a big, brave officer out on the streets. And it's where I began to develop a heart for these people, and realize that, like, these people, they're no different than me. And quite honestly, I used to tell them, and I can almost guarantee you Chase would attest to this. Maybe not, maybe he doesn't remember, but there are others out there that remember me saying this. The only difference between me and the uniform that I wore and the uniform that they were wearing, and the uniform that anybody in law enforcement wears versus the uniform that anybody that's incarcerated wears, most of the time, is timing. That's what it is. It's just timing. Because on any given day, there's a very high likelihood that you could do something, even as a person in the law enforcement community, that would land you in jail for a very, very, very long time. And if you couldn't start your shift at the beginning of every day with that realization, with that deep introspective look at yourself at the beginning of your shift, or before your shift even started, then you were part of the problem. So, yeah, this should be a big story, Hawk fan. Should be big. And I'll be damned if I can get anybody to pay any fucking attention to it. The local news will report on it for a little bit, and then it'll be gone. But they won't tell Chase's side of the story very much. This should be massive. That's why I'm counting on you guys. Help me get Chase's story out there. I will put the link to the story in the description. My conversation with him, where we break this all down, and you can hear in your own words what the hell they've done to him. I will put the link to the KAAL article or piece, news piece, in the description of this video. And you can read for yourself, see for yourself just how great a lengths they went to not deal with Deputy Matt Adamson in the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, to see that Sheriff Kevin Torgerson and Chief Deputy Brian Howard covered it up. They had to have covered it up. They had to have ignored it. At best, they ignored it. Because there's no way they pulled that man into an office and sat him down and talked to him and said, hey, here's what happened, what's going on, without also then feeling the need to put him under internal investigation. So they had to fucking ignore it. And so many people out there want to tell me about the good cops in Olmsted County and the good cops in Rochester Police Department. Like, if you aren't asking these questions and you're a cop, if you're putting on a uniform and a badge and a gun and a taser and a body cam every day, and you aren't asking yourselves what the fuck happened with Adamson and my agency in the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, who's going to be held responsible for this? Who's going to fall on their sword for this one? If you're not asking yourself why Sergeant Ben Schlag chose to let a predator go, but instead arrested and charged a young man who was trying to help protect his community with a felony crime, if you're not asking these questions, and you aren't asking Chief Franklin, and if you're not asking Sergeant Ben Schlag to his face why the hell he let this happen, If you're not asking Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, if you're not asking Chief Deputy Brian Howard, if you're not asking County Attorney Mark Ostrom of the Olmsted County Attorney's Office why they would let this go on, why they didn't do anything about it for a year and a half, but they'll charge Chase, if you aren't asking this and you wear a uniform in Olmsted County, you are corrupt. Even my friends that it's still there, if you aren't asking, you are the problem. If you're like, I just don't want to rock the boat. I just want to go on with my career. I don't want to lose the money. You are part of the problem. You're already corrupt. I said what I said. I don't care if you never talk to me. I hope this hurts you. I hope this drills down into your brain and it makes you think some really bad thoughts about yourself. Because if you aren't willing to ask your agency how they could let a man go on and be a predator for a year and a half, a year and a goddamn half, a year and a goddamn half, Rochester Police Department and the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, all of you let Matt Adamson victimize little girls for a year and a half. What the fuck is wrong with you? Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, you should be so goddamn ashamed of yourself you never show your face again in public. You should never show up at another Special Olympics event ever again. You are a monster. The way you treated me versus what you did to Adamson? A year and a half. You let him go. What did you do to me? Oh, you wanted me charged with crimes. Your first offer to me, when you realized that you were going to lose, was 6 weeks of pay. You had a deputy under your watch, a corporal, a person that you personally saw to promoting, molesting people, victimizing people inside of your detention center that you are responsible for keeping safe, protecting from harm. You let that man do things for a year and a half. And you have yet to apologize, Kevin Torgerson. But all the bootlicking normie con Inc. sycophants can't be bothered to realize just how goddamn bad this career field has become. You want to know why I demand so much reform in law enforcement? You want to know why I demand so much accountability? You want to know why I'm so damn hard on all of you in law enforcement? It's because of stories like this. Hey Lou, thanks for stopping in. I'm almost done. You can go back and watch it on replay right away. I would love it if you guys would send this out. I really would. It's not about me. Skipper, thank you for the super chat. I love the fact that you did it. But more important, find Chase, Hard Road TV on YouTube. I will try and put his link in the description of this video. I will try to link to my interview with him. I will try to link to the KAAL story. All of you, every single one of you, I got to read this. There we go. I think I got it figured out now. None of what I do on my channel is about me. I wish I could make it about me. I really do. I wish I could find a way. I wish I knew what it was that I needed to do to be famous, because I gave up so goddamn much for this. But it really ultimately isn't about me. Ultimately, this is about the stories of all the people that have been hurt and abused by a system, by the state. the federal state, the state state, the county state, the city state, the municipal state, whatever you want to call it. It's about all the levels of abuse. And it's all possible. All that abuse, all of this shit can happen to you because the state at all of her levels has the power of force, the power of violence, wrapped up in men and women with guns and badges who can show up and do whatever they want to you with impunity. Or they can cover up whatever they want to cover up with impunity, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Ask the angry vet. Ask the Veterans Affairs media. Ask Skipper from the Veteran Nation, my co-host, when we get back to doing that again. Just over and over and over again. We've all been victimized at some level. And a story like Chase's is lost? Is it because, and no offense to my auditing friends, but is it because he's not an auditor? Like why? And I do mean a ton of offense to all the freaking normie cons out there who just bend over and lick the boot. You know, my son showed me a t-shirt, and I just haven't been able to get myself to buy it yet. And it says, I will not kneel for any flag or any man. Or something like that. Unless it's to kneel to suck blue. Chase is who matters in this. Hard Road TV on YouTube. Chase's story is what matters in this. Chase is looking at losing his freedom, and he said, I will not take a deal. I will not take a plea. I did nothing wrong. I did what cops should have been doing, and they turned on me. So no, I will not take a plea deal. I will fight this with everything that I have. My own brother. Now that you hate cops, because my brother is a cop. I don't hate cops. I don't hate the cops. I don't want harm to come to them. I don't wish any evil on them for just being cops. But what I want is for them to wake up and start doing the right goddamn thing. It's high past time for these people to stop just doing their jobs and start doing what their oath demands of them. And that's why I lost my job. I took my oath from the military, and I took my oath in coming into the law enforcement career field. I took that oath so seriously that when the COOF came around in 2020, I said, I'm going to expose stories of people being abused by the powers that be. And the powers that be turned on me for defending people against cops who were willing to just do their jobs. So I'm not going to stop because Chase isn't going to stop. I'm not going to stop because the angry vet's not going to stop. And Brandon's not going to stop. And a Veterans Affairs media isn't going to stop, and Vet Nation's not going to stop, and Flying Auditor's not going to stop, and Flex Your Freedoms isn't going to stop, and BCNN isn't going to stop. That's why I'm not going to stop. So if you have any respect at all for what I do, and there again, I know I'm not an auditor the way people are used to it. but I tell stories and I talk about what people are going through. If you have any respect for what I do, please help me tell Chase's story. Help me get Chase's story out, because the one big channel that I took it to said, well, he kind of brings a hate on himself because he is kind of rude. I need to go hit the treadmill before I hit the low carb beers. I appreciate and respect every one of you that tunes in. I appreciate and respect every one of you that shares, likes, and I have some new memberships that have just come into the channel. I really appreciate you guys for doing that. I'm going to be putting up some videos there, some body cam footage. I had a conversation with a Korean War vet yesterday as I was giving in some information about Defend the Guard. I'm going to put that up in my membership section, just so people can see I'm serious about local activism.
1612.
Sorry, guys. Please help me tell Chase's story. Forget me. Help me tell Chase's story. Because I don't want to see him go to prison for running afoul of the system. And I will work on putting the links up while I'm on the treadmill, hopefully. So, for those of you that have made mods, thank you very much. For those of you that watch and share, thank you very much. For those of you that hit the like button, thank you very much. For those of you that are new subscribers, thank you very much. For those that are joining memberships, super chats, all of that, thank you very much. Until next time, fight for your freedom, it is yours. Fight for your liberty, it belongs to you. And Sic Semper, Tyrannis.